Hey guys, LoneAlchemist here. You're probably wondering what's going on, and yeah, this is something a little different of what I usually do. Instead of doing a flash video today, what I'm going to be uploading is a way of how I do my Sprite comics. And you're probably wondering why I'm doing Sprite comics and not a tutorial on how to make flash videos. And the reason why I'm doing that is because back when I first started doing what I do, I started with Sprite comics. And I figured, you know what, let me just do that. So I figured it'd be kind of fun to do. So yeah, my Sprite comic is Kirby's Quest. That's basically where I started everything that I do. That's where Saito came from, and if you were to read on it, you could actually learn who he is and how he became what he is right now. And I'll leave a link for the comic down below. And let's go ahead and get started on this so I can show you guys how it is that I make my Sprite comics. And basically, this isn't really going to be a tutorial. This is more of how I go about things. So you might still learn a thing or two. I use GIMP. I don't use Photoshop. It's a little complicated for me. I have it, but I just really haven't had the time or the patience to just sit down and really learn how to mess with it. So I stick with GIMP. I've been using GIMP since like 2008 now, so it's been a really long time, and I can't really say that I'm an expert with it, but at least I know enough to do what I need to do with it. So in this comic, basically it's very simple. It's just a 6-panel format, and let me show you real quick how it looks like. I actually have it right here. This is the previous comic that I made a few months ago. And as you can see, there's only 6 panels here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And pretty much every page looks identical, pretty much almost. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is a really simple way of making comics if you just want to keep it simplistic as possible. Well, you could actually make it more simple than this, but I figured a 6-panel format is really simple to do, and it's just cleaner to look at. I'm not saying that any other format is the wrong way to make it or is dirty. I mean, I just refer to mine as cleaner, but it just looks very uniform. The other ones, I don't really know what they're called, if they have a name, but I just refer to them as dynamic because they just look really cool. And that would be this. My friend Sammy, he makes Sprite comics as well, and he uses Photoshop, and he has this style that basically he creates the panels depending for what he needs at the moment. And as you can see here, he has one up here that doesn't even have any borders, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But if you look at the previous page, see, it looks entirely different. 1, 2, borderless, 4, 5. And then the one before that, see, they all look different, while mine looks a little bit more uniform. The cool thing about this is that you're not really limited as to what you can do for your pages, but it requires a bit more planning. And I just want to do my comics the simple way I've always done. I mean, I've always thought of making comics this way, but I figured I've been making mine in the 6-panel format for so long that it'll just feel weird if I do anything else. So that's why I kind of stick with this. And it just feels more like Kirby's Quest. I mean, it's always been like this. I tried changing it up one time, but that was a long time ago, and I don't know, I just slowly went back to this. But yeah, the last page that I made was this one, and we left off with DDD being mad. So what we're gonna do is we are going to make the first panel of the next page. And I actually have the script for it right here. This is the full script for the entire page that I'm gonna make, but for today we're just gonna work on the first panel. So I'm gonna show you guys how it is that I make the first panel. So down here in GIMP, I have my panel. This is gonna be the size of the panel once I finish it. And the way that I make it is I make each panel like this, and once it's made, I just save the panel as an image, and once all of them are done, I put them all together to finish off the page. So let's go ahead and start on this one. What we're gonna need for this one is we're gonna need DDD, because as you can see, he's gonna talk first. Hold it right there, you pink menace. So we're gonna find us a sprite for DDD. And here we have this sheet, and let's see what we can find. We need something that he'll be screaming, because even though on the script it doesn't really have any exclamation marks at the end, it just has a period, he's gonna be yelling that. So what we could do is we could either use this sprite, this one, or we could even use this one. But what I really want to do is I really want to use this one over here. And why do you ask? Well, you're going to see why. So let's just go ahead and start by selecting the fuzzy select tool. And we're going to click this white space out here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and delete it. So now all our sprites are just floating off in nothingness. And we're going to grab the one that we need, which is this dude right here. Alright, so we go to edit, copy. We go over to this one, edit, paste as new layer. And there we go. We have DDD on our panel. And as you can see, he's really tiny. This is the entire panel. We can't really use this, you know, so we're going to have to change the size of this. So what we're going to do is, since we already have our layer selected, we're going to go to layer, scale layer. Here we're going to change this over to percent because it's a little bit more easier to manipulate this way. Change this to none, and I'll explain what this is later on. And for width and height, let's just change it up to, let's say 300. Scale. Okay. See, now we have a decently sized King DDD here looking towards the back. And you're wondering, why is he looking that way? Well, I'm going to show you right now. We are going to put the background in. So for the background, we're going to need a background of them being inside King DDD's castle, because as you can see in the last page, this yellow background, I mean, they were sort of in DDD's, I mean, not really sort of, but they are in DDD's castle, but I don't think you can really see the background too well here. But you're going to be able to see it now when I use it. So it's going to be this one right here. Let's go ahead and select it. Edit, copy. And we're going to go ahead and paste it here as a new layer. And just bump it down. And you see, now DDD is facing towards the back. And he looks like he's looking down the hallway, which is actually what we want. Let me just zoom in a little bit. See that? He's looking towards the back. Now, the only thing is that if you look here, he's a little bit more towards the right side. So let's keep it that way, because it's going to be weird if he's on the right side more on this page than on the next page. He's over on the left. I mean, it could be possible, but just to keep it a little bit more similar to the last one. Let's go ahead and flip this dude. Bring him over here, like that. And then the background, just move it over here. There we go. You see that? Now he's looking down the hallway, and he's yelling at nothingness. Well, he's going to be yelling at something soon. Don't you worry. Alright, so now the background that's put up, it actually looks really nice like this. I mean, I might not really need to do anything with it, but what I want to do with it is I just want to make it a tiny bit blurry, just a little bit, tiny bit blurry. So I'm just going to go to Gaussian blur and just bring this down to 1. Bam. And I just feel like it actually makes the background just look a tiny bit better now. So now that we have the background set up and DDD looking that way, what we are going to need to do is we are going to get us Kirby. Okay, but first let me show you something real quick. See, you ain't gonna catch me, so that means that Kirby's gonna be running away. So let's find us a sprite of Kirby running away. Now, this is called the Ultimate Kirby Sprite Sheet, as you can see up here. And it says update 7. I'm guessing that means that there's been 7 versions of this. And I remember a while ago, like I came across this and it had way less of what it has now. So I'm guessing over time more and more is going to be added. So 8, 9, 10 is going to come out eventually, maybe. But the one who put this all together was Cosmetic Kid KMD, and you can find him over on DeviantArt. But for now, let's go ahead and look for the sprite that we need. And here we actually have some sprites of him running backwards. But the thing is that if you look here, he's kind of running at an angle. So let's see if we can find something that shows him running at an angle. And the thing is that down here we have this. This actually looks pretty nice. Let's see. Yeah, we might actually be able to use this. So let's go ahead and do the same thing that we did with King DDD Sprite Sheet. Select the fuzzy select tool. And the reason why you do the fuzzy select tool is because if you use this one and you click on the white space, you're going to notice that the white space within Kirby Sprite itself is going to be selected. You don't want that. No, that's a big problem. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the fuzzy select tool and click that, because using the fuzzy select tool, whenever you pick something, it only picks that color and that's it for whatever it's touching, meaning that the white within Kirby's body is not going to be selected because it's not touching the white that I selected out here. So once you have that selected, just go ahead and delete it. And you saw that it didn't really delete, and that is because if it does that, I've actually received this question a few times in the past before. When it does that, what you have to do is go to Layer, Transparency, Add Alpha Channel. Once you do that, go ahead and press delete, and there you go. Everything will be deleted, so you don't have to worry about that no more. So let's go ahead and let's zoom in on this one. Let's go ahead and use this one. So just go ahead and select this, edit, copy, edit, paste as new layer. And here we have Kirby running towards the back. And we're gonna put let's say right there. That actually looks pretty good. Now I'm actually gonna try something. Hold on. You see this back here? Kirby's running towards the back door back there. And and it just looks kind of weird for the fact that he's just running towards it. If he's running towards something that's bright, he should be casting a shadow. So let's work on the shadow. But at the same time, if you look at the floor, it kind of looks like it's reflecting. So let's see what we can do about that as well. But for now, let's just go ahead and give him a shadow first. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna make 2 more copies of that, and we're gonna flip down 2 of these. So we go over to flip tool, vertical, click, and click. Now what we do is we take one, just bring it down, take the other one, bring it down as well. But then we take this one, because if you can see, the sprites on the bottom here are actually on top of this one, so we need to bring this one to the top layer, and ta-da, you see that? That's what we need. So let's make this one invisible, and we're going to be working on this one. So this one, what we're going to do is we are going to take this, select by color, we're going to select the outside, and once we have the outside selected, we're going to go ahead and go to select, invert, and what that does is that it actually selects the inversion of what you selected. So instead of selecting the outside of Kirby, now you are selecting all of Kirby. And the reason why I did it that way was because if I click like this, see, I'm only going to be selecting the color of what I clicked. So I'm not really technically getting all of Kirby. So select the outside, select invert, and now all of Kirby selected. And go to edit, fill with foreground color, which is black, and there we go. Now we have a shadow. Now, of course, shadows are not really going to look like that because it looks kind of weird. So what we're going to do is we're going to skew it, and we're going to give it a nice little look so that it actually looks a little bit more natural. So select none. Let's go ahead over to this shear tool, and we are going to shear this. Let's see. See, the door is coming from over there. The light is hitting him like this, so that means that the shadow should be going in this angle. So let's give it a 4. Move it over a little bit like that. And what we're gonna do is we are gonna blur it, because a shadow is not supposed to be that detailed, I think. So blur it like that a little, and let's bring down the opacity just a bit, and now let's see how it looks like. That actually looks pretty nice, but I feel like I can make it better. So let me go ahead and fix that real quick. Hold on. That. Okay. So blur. Let's not blur it too much actually. Let's just 3 like that. Bring down the opacity to that. And let me try to shrink it real quick. Let me see something. Hold on, let me zoom in. Okay. Yep. That looks a lot better in my opinion. Let's see. Yes, that is what I want. So, we gave Kirby a shadow. Now, what we gotta do is we actually have to change Kirby himself, because if you think about it, Kirby's casting a shadow, so that means that there's a shadow in the back of his body. And if you look at it now, he looks a little too bright, you know? So, let's go ahead and fix that. Let's go ahead and select his layer. Go to colors, brightness, and let's just bring the brightness down a little bit, you know, just like that. That actually looks okay. I mean, it's all the way down. Yeah, actually all the way down looks really good, so let's leave it at that. And there we go. We have Kirby running off into the distance. But now you're wondering, oh, but why do you have this down here? And the reason why I have this is because I'm gonna see if, oh, wrong one. I could give Kirby a little bit of reflection down on the floor since he's running away. So I figured it'd be cool if he had a reflection. But the reflection is actually gonna be under his shadow like that, so. That actually does look pretty good. Okay, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and fix Kirby up just one tiny more bit. What I mean by this is the fact that if you look at this, it looks like the further you look down at it, it should be more blurry that way, because right now King Dedede, he's all the way up in the front, and he's focused, like the camera's focused on him. So that means that if the camera's focused on him, the camera should blur out the back. But the thing is that at the same time, Kirby is going to be talking, so he shouldn't be too blurred out, because then it's going to be like, what's the point? You know, it's going to be weird if he's talking back there and the camera's just blurring him out. So I wanted to make it a little bit realistic. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a tiny bit of a blur. And let's start out with his reflection, since I already have his reflection selected. So just go ahead and do that. And then we select up here, Gaussian blur, or Gaussian, I don't know how you pronounce it. I've always said Gaussian, I might be wrong. But bam. See, now Kirby is a little tiny bit blurred, but he's still good enough to look at that. He's not like, you know, too far out in the back and be like, oh, what is that, you know? So that's it, Kirby's done. But actually, let me fix something real quick, because the reflection should be dark as well. Even if it's not something that you'll notice too much, if you look at it, it still looks a little bit nicer this way. So we have Kirby running away in the back now. But if you notice from the previous page, Saito's with them. So that means that we have to find a Saito sprite of him running towards the back. But if you look at Saito sprites, you're going to notice something. He doesn't really have any sprites of him running towards the back. And the thing is that, I mean, I could use this one, I guess. But up here, some of you may have noticed already that, hey, he has sprites of him flying towards the back. How come you don't use that? Well, that's the thing. In my comic, Saito was just transformed into this form like 13 pages back from this one, I think it was. And he still hasn't learned how to use them to fly. So at this point in time, Saito is not as strong as he is in his YouTube videos. So I can't use his flying sprites. So what we're going to do is, we're just going to go ahead and use this sprite right here, because this one actually looks pretty nice. I'm just going to have to fix these little pixels over here, because they're not exactly what I need them to be. So let me just go ahead and select this and fix me up a Saito sprite. Doop, doop, doop. Oh, there we go. So now I got me a Saito sprite. And, oh, whoops. Control Z. Okay, we have ourselves a sprite right there. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and fuzzy select, delete, copy the Saito we need, copy, go here. Oh, clicked on the wrong thing. And here we are gonna paste Saito as a new layer. Let's go ahead and move him around. Now, the thing is that he's going to be running away with Kirby. But if he's running away and he's a little bit more back, that means that I have to resize him. So, let's go ahead and do that now. Now, the thing about this sprite is that I am going to have to do it differently than what I did with Kirby. Because if I resize this sprite, well, I'm sorry, what I did with King DDD, because if I resize this sprite for the size that I needed, which is somewhere like around 125, let me show you what happens. Look at this, interpolation, none. Look at this. It's an ugly mess. Probably wondering what's going on, but look, you see this? Since some of the sprites, since some of the pixels got resized and they don't fit into the right places. Like for example, if I were to resize this to by 200, it will double its size. Anything in between that is gonna resize the pixels into like a weird mess like this, that some pixels are twice the size while others are just the regular size, and you don't want that. That doesn't really look too good. So what you're gonna want to do is Control Z, so it goes back to normal, layer, scale layer, change this to cubic. Once you have that changed to cubic, I'm gonna go ahead and change it, and you see that? Now when you zoom in, it actually blurred it. Now when you zoom in, you notice that GIMP actually blurred it for you, so that it doesn't look too weird. I mean, it's still gonna look a little weird, but it's better than looking at a little bit too jaggy, you know. So that's the size of Saito that we need. And now basically what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing that we did with Kirby. So we are going to give him a couple copies of the layer. So one for the shadow, one for the reflection. And let's go ahead and flip them. 1, 2, and move them. Okay, let's go ahead and zoom in so we can have a better look at what we're doing right here. Now we're gonna take this one, bring it to the top so that it looks better, and make this one invisible for now. This is gonna be the shadow. So select all of the outside, invert. If you click here, it's just going to change everything back to black and white. Fill with black, select none. Now it's going to look a little bit weird because it was resized differently than this one, so that's why it looks a little weird here on the edges. So what we're going to do to fix this is we are actually going to skew it first. Like that. That actually looks pretty good right there. And we are gonna blur it. Gaussian blur. Forgot what I did for Kirby, but let's just go with 5 for now. Yeah, 5 looks nice. Okay. Bring it down a little like that. Actually, I might have to bring Saito down a little. Like that. And 64, so let's do this 64. Just like that. And for this one, just go ahead. That's 16, so let's bring that to 16 as well. See, there we go. Now we have the reflection for Saito, we have the shadow, and everything is essentially the same, except that now I have to make Saito dark as well. So what we do is go to colors, brightness, same that we did last time, and just bring it down. But the thing is that Saito is not as close to the door as Kirby is, so he doesn't necessarily have to be as dark as Kirby. So let's just leave it at 88 and click OK on there. And let's do the same thing for the reflection. Colors, brightness, 88, and OK. And there we go. So we have Kirby and Saito running away towards the background, and we have King DDD yelling at them. Hey, come back here, you bastards! Ah! Alright, so what we're gonna do now is we are going to add text. So let's go ahead and start with that. Just to add the text, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a new layer, and we're going to select this over here, text tool. Now the font that I use is Anime Ace, but since DDD is going to be yelling his line, let's go ahead and select the bold. And usually the size that I use to type the text in is 10, but like I said, since DDD is going to be yelling, let's just start out with 18 to see how it looks like for now. And we are always going to center justify this, so that way whenever you write down the text bubbles, it just looks real clean and everything is centered. Because if you have everything off to the left side, it's not really going to look like a proper speech bubble. It's just going to look like you're listing something, and it's just going to look ugly. So don't do that. Alright, so he is going to be saying, "Hold it right there, you pink menace." Now you can always copy and paste, but I just like to write it out. So let's just write it out. Right there, you pink menace. See, I already changed it. Just hold it while I put stop it. No, I messed up my memories. Alright. And we have to add a few oops. A few exclamations right there. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to bring this down in size to 15. And now that you have the text written onto the panel, what you're going to do is you're going to work on the speech bubble. But let's actually do something different now. What you want to do as well is, instead of just making the speech bubble and then working on the next one for Kirby, which he's going to be talking next, it's sometimes better to just write all the text that you need onto the panel, because once you actually have all the text on the panel, what's going to happen is it gives you a better idea of how the bubbles are going to look. Because let's say I make a bubble here and I make the tail to talk to DDD over here, but then when I write Kirby's text, it's like all over the place and it's kind of covering what his bubble is doing, and it's just not really going to look that good. So it's best just to have all the text onto the panel first. That way you know how the bubbles are going to look like, and they're not really on top of each other or just overlapping, you know. So let's go ahead and type the line for Kirby. So his line, since he's talking normally, he's not really going to be yelling like King DDD is. Let's just go ahead and bring it down to 10. And he's going to be saying, "You ain't going to catch me." So let's go ahead and type that out. Okay. So Kirby's all, "You ain't gonna catch me." Okay. So there we go. Now we have the text that we need for this panel. And now let's go ahead and work on the bubble itself. So for the bubble, there used to be a way that I used to make bubbles in GIMP before, and I'm guessing somewhere along the way there was an update that changed GIMP how it worked a little bit, and I don't know, like the way that I used to do bubbles before, it doesn't work anymore, so I gotta do them differently now. And I mean, it's not really much of a big problem, it's still the same thing, it's just that I gotta do a step before another one, and before it was the other way. So let me go ahead and show you what it is that I gotta do to make a speech bubble. So I come up here and I select the paths tool, and this is going to be King DDD's text bubble, obviously. So I choose up here, and you always want to make it go towards the mouth. I mean, of course, the mouth is the part that's going to be talking. So once you have that, just go up here to select from path, and that's gonna select what you did. From there, you gotta come up here to rectangle select, and you can go to the ellipse select, but the thing is that the way that I do it is I go to rectangle and rounded corners, and I bring this up to 30. And once I do that, I also have to click on this, so that way I can actually add multiple things, because this is what I do. You can make a speech bubble like this, and there's no problem doing that. Of course, you can always do that, but the way that I do it is I actually wrap each line on its own, and it's not entirely necessary, but it's just like my own little style of making things. So you know, you can always do your own thing. You don't necessarily have to follow rules on how to do things, but I mean, there are certain rules that you have to follow. Like for example, whoever talks first, their line go up on the panel, and whoever talks next is below that. If you read my first few comics, you're gonna notice that it's a little bit weird to read, because some people talk first and it's on the left side, and the second person who talks is gonna be on the right side, and their bubble is higher on the panel, and you think that they would be talking first when in fact they're not. So yeah, I was a newbie back then, so I did little simple mistakes like that. But always keep that in mind, that whenever you're gonna, you know, write a text bubble into a panel, whoever's talking first, they go up on top. So once you have everything selected, the way that I do the bubble is I go ahead and I fill everything with black, and once everything is selected with black, I go to select, shrink by 1 pixel, and now I fill everything with white. And if you'll see, I got me a speech bubble right there. So now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and work on Kirby's, and his is going to be the same way. Select from path, and let's go ahead and zoom in. You ain't gonna catch me. And let's go ahead and finish this. Fill, select, shrink, fill with white, and we have the text bubbles. Now, as you can see, in my comics, every character has a colored coded text bubble. So pink is Kirby, yellow is Saito, red is DDD, and as you can see, Waddle Dee over here is like an orange color type of thing. And I do that just for eye candy. You don't necessarily have to do it, because as you can see in Salty of Dreamland, he just has the original black and white with a drop shadow under it, which looks really nice. But me, I've always liked having a lot of color on my comics, so that's why I tend to do this. It's not exactly necessary, but it's just my own little touch on things. So let's go ahead and add the colors. So for King DDD, he is blue. As you can tell, he's blue, but since red is a dominant color for him, I chose red to represent him. So what I do is I go up here to the color picker tool, and I go to his layer, and I pick the red from his robe or jacket or whatever it is that he's wearing. And from there I go up to his bubble, and what I do is I go to filter, light shadow and drop shadow, or light and shadow, then drop shadow. Little dialog box is going to open, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring this down to 0. The blur radius can stay like that. Now here what I'm going to do is, since I already have the red color that I need selected, I'm just going to right click and use foreground color, and that's going to basically just replace the black with a color that I have selected over here. Opacity, just bring it up to 100. Now allow resizing, you want to click this off, because let me just go ahead and do this and I'll show you what I mean. You may not notice from the video, but I can clearly see like a red glow right around here. And what that red glow is the color for the text bubble. And remember that allow resizing thing that I told you about? If you would have left that clicked, this bubble, the glow for it may probably actually expand the border on the panel, and it's just gonna look all messy, and then it's not gonna be the size that you needed. So if you click off that allow resizing, basically it's gonna do exactly that. It's not gonna allow resizing, so that's what you need. But once you have that done, basically you just go to the layer where the bubble is and you bring this down to 30. You're gonna notice that I tend to use 30 a lot, but bring it down to 30 and there you go. His speech bubble is colored in. And we can do the same thing for Kirby. Now the only thing with Kirby is that we you notice that we have already changed his color. So if we try to use him, it's going to be a dark pink. You don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring another Kirby into our little thing over here. Paste as new layer. And where is he? He's right here. What we're going to do is we're going to use this pink, because that's the pink that we need. So get rid of that. Go to his filters, light shadow, drop shadow, and just replace it with that. And you know the next step, down to 30. And there you go. Kirby's is now colored in. Now the thing is that, yeah, it looks nice, but King DDD, he's actually yelling at Kirby and Saito. So what we're gonna do is, I want to add speed lines. So let's go ahead and work on that. What we're gonna do is, there may be a better way of probably doing this, but the thing is that I'm not too familiar with how to do it. So I'm gonna do it the way that I usually do it whenever I need speed lines. So I need speed lines like over here, like all on this side. And there may be a simple way of doing it, but like I said, I don't really know a simple way of doing it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new image and just make it bigger. Just bring it up to like 600 something. All right. And from here, I'm gonna go to filters, render, line nova. Bring this down to 100 is good. Let's just leave it there. And bring up the randomness. Go. Made it pink. I don't need the pink. Let's go ahead and fix that real quick. Render, line nova, and okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select the entire thing, edit, copy, paste as new layer, and we're just going to move this over to where we need it. See, because DDD's over here and he's going to be yelling, so like that. But we got to get rid of all this white, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to layer, transparency, color to alpha, and from this to alpha means that anything that's white on the image is gonna go invisible. So that's what we need. Bam. Now we just gotta put this on a layer that it looks good and that it doesn't really make anything look weird. And hold on, let's go ahead and invert the colors to see if it looks better. That looks good. I feel like you need to be up here like that. let me see something real quick. See, that's the thing with Sprite comics. You always, well, not necessarily just Sprite comics, but with, like, designing anything, that the first look that you give it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be that way. You can always mess around with it to see if you can make it better. And that's what I'm doing right now. And remember, it's you try to make it look nice, of course, but at the same time you gotta realize that, you know, at the same time you gotta make it look in a way that you like it. Like, for example, I could do something that I like, but somebody else might not really like it, you know. And yeah, it kind of sucks because they might say something about it, but at the same time you just gotta realize that, you know, it's your hobby, it's what you like doing. Yeah, you like to keep your fans happy, but at the same time you like doing what you're doing because it's your thing, you know. So just try not to feel too overwhelmed by things, and just have fun with what you do, you know. So let's see, right there. Now, the only thing that bugs me about this, honestly, it's Kirby and Saito, because these lines are going over them, and that's really like bugging my OCD. So actually that looks pretty good too. Let's see something. Yeah, I like that. See, so now it looks like DDD is yelling. And what I can also do is, let's see, invert it, make it white, but I can maybe give this a drop shadow. And yep, it makes the white lines actually stick out a little bit better. So I think I am gonna keep it like that. So that's it. That's basically one panel made for Kirby's Quest. And as you can see, it actually took a little bit of time. You can always go into more detail, and this is just one panel out of the 6 that I gotta make. And yeah, this is, like I said, this isn't really much of a tutorial. Maybe if you learn something from here, that's awesome. But this is more of a how I go about things. After this, basically what I do is I make all the images that I need for each panel. I save them all as their own image, and once I have everything done, I have a template of the background here that I use, like all this blue and white stuff back here. I have a template that I use that basically I just take that image and I just put it into the panel that I need, and once everything is done, the comic is done. This is the last page that I made. I believe it was last year, looking at December 24th, I believe it was. And I'm gonna actually have to change this one to 08-16 because we're in 2016. But yeah, that's pretty much how I go about making my comics. If you guys are more interested in how I do things, I can always make more videos. I don't have any problems doing that. We'll be making more videos later on because there's going to be some panels that are going to be doing like special effects and things like that, and I've always been told to, hey, like, how do you do special effects in your comics? And I'm not that good at special effects. It's more of what I need at the moment. I just play around with it and I just make it. So whenever I get across to having to make a comic panel that, you know, is a little bit complicated with the special effects, I'm going to go ahead and just fire up a video for you guys so I can show you guys what it is that I'm doing. And another thing that I've always been asked is how to recolor sprites. I mean, a lot of people know how to recolor sprites. It's not really that complicated, but if you guys want, I can also make like a little short video for that. It's not going to be too complicated, so don't really expect much out of it. Recoloring does get a little complicated sometimes, but I'm just going to show you the basics of it. And yeah, let me know if you guys are interested in me making more of these things. I mean, it's something different. You guys have probably never heard my voice like this before. And who knows? Let's see what happens. You guys have a good one, and hopefully you'll hear from me again. Bye.